for 200 plus years, and we get to be alive at a time to see it fall. I believe in the power of one person working as a team with other Christian patriots can have massive impact in reversing this ungodly culture. I believe that we have an omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent God that has put his hand on this moment in time to deny the timeline of the enemy and is about to heal our land. This is Rick, your host, and I believe that God has called me to empower Christian patriots with truth. Join us now for the Blessed to Teach show, and let's see what God is doing today.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
You know, if I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
I encourage you to take this seriously because it's not only about your athletic performance, it's about the general health long term.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep, it's feeling like more energy, more get up and go, and it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
Welcome, it's Blessed to Teach here. We're going to, Rick with Blessed to Teach, we're going to be empowering Christian patriots with truth the next few hours. We're going to be talking about epic fury, obviously, and how all Iranian top leaders are dead. Dig into a little bit about how that happened, and really kind of show a different angle than you'll get at other shows. Really about, could this be about the Bank of England puppets in Iran? What's this really do to the long-term strategy of what Trump is doing here? And we need to be praying for Trump because there's a prophetic word that came in about another assassination, and we need to be diligent in fighting this spiritual battle. Remember, that's what we're going to be doing after the show on the other channel. We're going to be going to Praise and Prayer, which you'll find on the Word and Worship channel or the Growing with Faith channel on either Faith and Freedom TV or Rumble. So let's get into this. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to do news show because I had to end national religious broadcasting, and then also had emergency where I had to fly into Mexico. And I was down there during when they took out men's show. And so I had to be stay at home orders in Tulum, Mexico, where my dad lives. And fortunately, my dad's doing really good, so I got great reports. We'll get in praise and prayer for that. Plus, my ear's doing great. So great. It's been a fantastic, beautiful week for me to go from very rough stuff to some beautiful stuff, and we'll get into that later. But let's jump into the breaking news here, guys. Again, Trump will not rule out sending U.S. troops into Iran if necessary. He tells the Post war is progressing way ahead of schedule. So Trump gave and obviously Raising Cain as well as Pete Hegseth all gave updates. So it's awesome to get these very detailed updates from with the most transparent government we have in decades. But here you see Trump. The Trump dance is happening. This is just what you see with so many Iranian type people thankful of what Trump's doing. Here's a 28-second post. Let's look at this. That's the YMCA's playing. not the best sound. So here's another person comes in. They're all doing the Trump dance. The real flag, Iranian flag, U.S. flag, all doing the Trump dance. This is part of the celebration. They really feel that this may be their freedom of the Persian people. Here's some more people, the Iranians, doing the Trump dance as they are celebrating. This is they asked for help, guys. They the 40,000 or 40,000. They say 32,000 to 40,000 of the protesters being killed in the streets. And but what do you see here? This is just kind of a perfect summary of what's going on. You see the Iranian people celebrating freedom, but the leftists in North Carolina protesting it, or in New York, or you name the city. This is the useful idiots that Saul Alinsky talks about, or that Vladimir Putin used to talk about. Do so much brainwashing with the media, with the social media, with all 7 mountains of influence that you get people really supporting the evil. And that is why I started this 8 years ago, is to fight the mainstream medias. He who controls the media controls the mind. So thank you for forwarding this and being digital soldiers and liking this to get the algorithm up. We need to have more of these type of programs. And there's hundreds of us citizen journalists giving truth versus what the mainstream media is really trying to do. It's not just the leftist. It's the rhinos as well. We got to remember that. Hey guys, this program is sponsored by Televital. This is Dr. Group, you know, from the ages of with Dr. Ardis, and the G in there is Dr. Group. Talked about telomeres forever. Telomeres is what ages you. So the more you can support that, those tips at the end of your telomeres are shown on the screen right now actually don't shrink nearly as fast, giving you longer life. And this Bill Andrews is the premier researcher of telomeres over the last 30 years. And he's now perfected a formula of all these natural supplements that can actually help reduce your aging process significantly. I'm taking this every day now. I love this. Sherry Tenpenny is the one who got me on it and basically talked to me about how important this is. She's come on the show and talked about it. So join Rick and Dr. Tenpenny in making sure you're aging well. Let's go to blessed2teach.com/agewell. This link's down below in this video. That's again, blessed2teach.com, blessed with the number 2teach.com/agewell. We'll get you there. There's a link down below in the video as well. All right, let's dig into this more. Here is President Trump on the front of the Jerusalem Post. Freedom, liberty, Trump. Picture of the American flag. Picture of Trump with the Air Force in there. Right on the front page of the Jerusalem Post. So that is pretty interesting, isn't it? And you can see how popular Trump is becoming. Now, Kim Clement prophesied about Iran in a pretty specific way. Let's listen to this little clip here.
He will not be stopped. He will not be silenced by these that have tried to silence them in the Middle East. So I saw these massive events being planned by God and His Holy Spirit. This preservation and the time for it is extended into the Middle East, and especially for God's people in Iran. Hear me, this is a prophetic thing. Where a massive shaking is going to take place in Iran. Now it may sound obvious. No. This is something God ordained. This is not something Obama ordained. This is not something America ordained. This is something God has ordained. A massive shaking in Iran, which will reveal God's absolute displeasure with Iran and the pact that is presently taking place. And the result will be hundreds of thousands of Christians will be freed in Iran.
Woo! That's why we have code breakers as part of the Faith and Freedom platform. So again, if you go to faithandfreedom.org or faithandfreedom.tv, and that's faith with the N, it's right there in the middle of the screen. We have 25 awesome providers, over 30 shows, including the code breakers from Donnie, Clement, Petruska, and the House of Destiny. And that is just another awesome one there. You can see
he will not
with Kim Clement clearly showing, and this is June 3rd, 2015, talking about how there'll be freedom of hundreds of thousands of Christians. We know there's a huge, the fastest growing church was in Iran, even during the persecution. So there's a huge amount of Christians there. This could be the moment in history where we see them free, and we need to be praying for them, and not to be slaughtered, but to actually take over their government is what we really hope. Now, here's again, Trump is becoming extremely popular, and this is part of the thing we need to be praying about. And this is why this show is a little bit different, guys, because we really look at this from a biblical perspective, from a spiritual perspective, as well as what the Anon researchers are looking at, and the news. All those three things coming together makes this show unique. And one thing we want to see is here spiritually, you see Trump being honored, and he's getting favor from God, obviously losing no troops during the Maduro operation, and actually just all the things that he's have done with moving the Israel, the embassy into Jerusalem. They said that was start a war. That didn't happen. They said the Venezuela, that we would be starting a war. So all these critics, there's obviously a favor of God upon him. And part of this is a Roman emperor, Constantine the Great. You said, you remind me of this. So this is an Orthodox archbishop praising Trump. This is a while back. Listen.
And you lead the world. You are the leader of the world.
So but you can see how just like David being so successful in the biblical times, and they talk about Trump being a modern day David or a modern day Cyrus, but I think he's more of a modern day David. And he ended up completely sinning with Bathsheba, right? At the height of his popularity. And God judged him for that, and it put the whole kingdom in huge problems, right? Where Absalom tried to kill David after that, and it became a divided area. And so David's life became miserable because he got pride and ended up testosterone, having an affair with Bathsheba and actually murdering her husband by just horrible things, right? And that is pride. Once you have so much favor of God on you, we need to be praying that Trump can be humble, because of I'm not going to show you the actual prophetic word, but the prophetic word said that is very detailed, from Brandon Briggs, the same guy who saw him months before get shot in the ear, has another prophecy seeing Trump actually get assassinated. And we do not want, we need to pray against Trump's pride, and he does it God's way, not his way. He needs to make decisions based on the Lord. We all do, right? Especially Trump right now, because he is kind of the leader of the world, like this guy's saying. But you can see how this could be really tough to remain humble when you hear all this over and over.
You remind me of the great Roman emperor, Constantine the Great. It is my great honor to present you with this holy cross. This cross is the very symbol that led this great Roman Emperor Constantine to victory. As Christ revealed to him in a vision, he said, "En tuto nica," told the emperor, means go with this and be victorious, Mr. President. This cross is an everlasting symbol of peace and an invincible trophy.
So here you can see the two different sides of this. Is you're the leader of the world, which can lead to pride, but then also trying to get him to focus on the cross, focus on Jesus. This is what we need to be praying for Trump, is that he does focus not on the physical cross, but on the Word of God, the true Jesus, the true Lord of the universe, for his guidance, as we all should be doing, but especially Trump.
A sign of divine strength and guidance. With this cross, I pray you bring peace to the world and make America invincible.
Yeah, so and the reason I wanted to bring that up is because this is Trump knowing that there's tons of people gunning for him is the word he uses here. Listen.
I don't know how long I'll be around. Got a lot of people gunning for me, don't I? Huh? But I will not forget them. I'm never going to forget them. I don't know how long I'll be around. Got a lot of people gunning for me, don't I? Huh? But I will not forget them. I'm never going to forget them.
So there's a lot of people gunning for me. I don't know how long I'll be around, right? And so that's the humbleness that he needs to continue, right? And understanding that the reason he's here is because the Lord saved him when he got shot in the ear, and that humbleness. But again, Brandon Briggs, I think it's a prophet's name, clearly seeing Trump coming down the stairs and actually being shot and assassinated. And we need to be praying for Trump to remain humble and choose God's ways versus his ways. Otherwise, we could go through what the kingdom had to go through when David, height of its safety, everything was going awesome, and he sins with Bathsheba, right? We need to just pray for Trump to remain steadfast and close to the Lord, God Almighty, because we do not want that to happen. All right, we're going to get a lot more detail into this war now and give an update on the war too, and give you my perspective on some of this stuff. Like, there's a lot of influencers saying he doesn't even know what his objectives are. He's changing them all the time. Well, they put it out in the White House. This is why the Dinesh D'Souza is saying, influencers, why do we have to go to war to save the people of Iran? I'm America first. I don't want to risk a single American life for the freedom of Iran. And he's basically saying our actual objectives are American first. And this is what you can see. This is put out by the White House, right? And you can see our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities. Second, we're annihilating their navy. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon. Finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside their borders. So those are clear. Now, they're also setting up, there's some additional objectives, setting up the ability for the Iranian people to potentially take back their country. By taking out the police and the infrastructure, et cetera, like that. That's exciting to me. That's, to me, what our bigger prayer as well is, have the Persian people be free. This could be an amazing time. Now, there's been 4 fatalities as of a couple hours ago. Again, and then now we got more details on why. It was actually what Pete Hedges called a squirter hitting tactical ops. So basically, they have all these huge bombs that can do major damage, and they're being hit by Patriot and other type of defense mechanisms, and then they'll splinter off. And he called this a squirter. And so that's what Pete Hegseth was saying. And then and a bunch of that fragments that can still be extremely dangerous fell into command center and hit them. We don't know exactly where this happened in the battles yet. I think that's part of it. They don't want to give that information out so that won't give Iran any more information than they need, right? It says, as pertains to the U.S. casualties, that particular incident was, you have air defenses and a lot's coming in, and you hit most of it. And we absolutely do. We have incredible air defenders, he said. Has noted that despite this center's fortifications, the weapon involved was powerful. He had that such incidents strengthened the military's resolve. But again, he called this a splinter that actually... that squirter. We expect to take additional losses, and as always, we will work to minimize U.S. losses. But as the Secretary said, this is a major combat operations happening. Now, he also, this top general, Raising Cane, they call him, right, says it will take time to achieve military objectives in Iran. This is not a single overnight operation, Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Dan Kane says. Now, when he was talking about this, this is a 40-minute deal that happened this morning, right? Many of you have already seen this, so I'm not going to regurgitate it, but some of the key things that he really was pointing out is that this will take weeks, and there's some information coming out where there's 20,000 targets in Iran. Just think about that, 20,000 targets, and they've dropped around 1,500 bombs right now or 1,500 targets right now in the U.S. and maybe 1,000 in Israel. But if you take it out, it's like 20 days. It was going to take like 20 days to hit all the targets, right? So that is this is a huge operation, and to really, if the regime does not lay down their arms and say enough is enough, they're going to hit all 20,000 of those, I believe. We can pray that it ends early, as long as it results in we, the people of Iran, and the Christians being free, just like Kim Clement prophesied. That's pretty exciting. Like, it's been revealed that nearly all of Tehran's traffic cameras had been hacked by Israel for years, with algorithms tracking senior officials, including the supreme leader. One Israeli official said, "We knew Tehran like we know Jerusalem." Wow. So all the traffic cameras, every one of them, been hacked by Israel to be able to monitor and see where these senior officials were, to knock out and kill 40 of the top officials all at one breakfast. That's the new information that came out as well, is that this was a breakfast, which is really interesting because the good Muslims are not supposed to be eating during the daytime on Ramadan. They're supposed to fast during the waking hours. So it just shows you that the supreme leader and all the leaders that are enforcing all these rules on everybody else, it's kind of like the COVID thing here in the U.S., where Newsom and everybody else was enforcing all the rules on everybody else, but they weren't living them themselves. It looks like the Ramadan rules or of fasting was not being was not being observed by the supreme leader himself. Shows you that these guys are evil and don't even believe what they're forcing everybody else to adhere to. Here's an unclassified. And this is Amir Safarti who's Behold Israel on his channel. I'm going to refresh this because this is his. See if I can see. It looks like that refresh actually took me all the way out. See if I can get back to that real quick. But a great guy to follow if you want to. See if I can scoot over here. There it is. Just seeing if there's anything new. Here's some new stuff that just came in here just recently. The damage today caused by the facilities of Saudi. This is so again, Iran is really doing something incredibly silly. They're attacking Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Kuwait and everybody around, thinking that that's going to somehow splinter and put pressure on the U.S. and Israel to stop the attacks. But it's doing the opposite. They now want to join the United States in the conflict. They're trying to take out the oil fields. They're doing all kinds of things. I'm going to scroll all the way about it. Excuse me for the scrolling here, but I want to get to any brand new stuff that would happen while we're live here. Like here's it looks like a bunch of. This is 5:05, and so that just shows you that there's all kinds of alarms going off in Israel again, right? All the way from all the way to the sea there. There's a refresh that just happened. Israel attacking in Beirut right now, the main heart of Beirut. That's a huge mistake that Hezbollah made. They finally came into the war after a day and a half or so, and now Israel is pounding them incredibly hard for since this morning. Explosions of the American embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So you can see Iran is targeting anything to do with American or the West and all the neighboring states. So quite a bit still going on here. Currently under missile attack, Israel, Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan. So you can see this is this desperation of Iran trying to hit all these different. Many of these people are part of the Trump's brilliant approach of actually doing the. Not just the Abraham Accords, which he did in his first term, but then he went into this Board of Peace, right, where he heads that. And that is a ton of these Islam non-extreme nations coming into that, so that he isolated Iran before this happened, so this doesn't turn into a whole, Trump, you're doing something during Ramadan, and all the Islam nations come together condemning Trump. Instead, it's just the opposite's happening. So Trump worked an absolute miracle with the favor of the Lord again on him. So the favor of the Lord is on Trump. There's no question It says pray against his pride, and it's just amazing. This is the Friends of Islamic Center of Manchester invites you to a candlelight vigil for the late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Hussein Khamenei, Wednesday, March 4th. That's interesting. So he was supposed to be doing some type of to the candlelight vigil for the late. So that will be that'll be in Sydney, that they're going to be doing that. Australia. So they're obviously, as they tried to infiltrate Islamic people or Arab people all over the West, there is going to be risk in our side. Like you probably saw the shooting in Austin, Texas, right? There was another one in Cincinnati, Ohio. So they've been one off so far. Trump and Dan Bongino, as well as Kash Patel, did a great job getting the major drug lords, the major leaders of the gangs out of our country before this happened, right? So if we had done this earlier, these sleeper cells could have really wiped us out. So far, it's another thing that we can be praying for here. If I just go backwards a little bit, you can see all the attacks are happening right now in Israel, as well as in all these other U.S. bases within the area. But here you see Tehran under attack here. These are all very recent posts by the Behold Israel, Amar Safarti. You might want to follow. Explosion in Dubai, explosions in the American base in Jordan. U.S. State Department, we call on all American citizens to immediately leave 14 countries in the Middle East region. So you can see here they're talking about leave all these. Bahrain and Egypt and Iran, Iraq, Israel, the West Bank, because they know this is going to be going on for 15, 20 days. And so the more Americans they can get out of these areas, especially when they're around American embassies, they want them out of Kuwait and Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Safar, or some people pronounce that Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. But if you look at these, most of these people are in the Board of Peace, right? They're in the Abraham Accords. So Trump, that miracle that Trump worked is isolating Iran as this extreme. And now as Iran bombs all their neighbors, their Arab neighbors, their Islamic neighbors, now all those neighbors are coming against them. They're not pushing Trump to stop. They're basically saying, I'll join you. More launches toward the northern Israel were detected. No reports have been received of falls or casualties as a result of the last barrage. So they keep sending barrage after here. The U.S. Army, the number of American soldiers killed so far in Operation Epic Fury has risen to 6. So that's brand new news that just came out at 5 p.m., right around 5 p.m. here. I think this is, I would guess this is Eastern time showing here. So that would have been about an hour ago. That looks like we've lost 6 soldiers, and so this is gonna. That's all the left and the enemies of Trump will focus on is everything negative, right? And so a lot more stuff here. Here's some stuff that I had posted as well. That was Amir. What I wanted to also show you this, guys, is that a lot of this coverage now is from different providers coming into Faith and Freedom TV. Again, we got 30 providers, so make sure you check that. I just did a blog that helps us get traffic to faithandfreedom.org, so people will find Faith and Freedom TV, where Amanda Grace and Dominique Clement and Sherry Tenpenny, Resistance Chicks, or so many others are all coming on Lance Wall now. So don't miss faithandfreedom.tv. It's pretty easy. Any URL, just type in faith with the N, freedom.tv, and you'll be able to see stuff you can't find anywhere else, including some exclusive Faith and Freedom content as well. And here is a new blog I just put up, and this is going to explore something a little bit different than what you'd see in just normal war coverage, right? We just gave you the latest updates on the casualties, latest updates on where all the attacks from Iran are going, massive amounts of targets, about 1,000 a day between Israel and the United States. Again, getting to the 20,000 targets, they're only about 10% done. So this is a huge amount of targets continuing here. And so I'm just looking at some of the comments. I see some comments on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for being there, as well as on Rumble. I think I can put those comments up as well. I was going to pull up a screen that allows me to put your comments up. Let me pull that up here. There it is. So now going forward, as you guys make comments, I can actually put them on the screen when I see something that I want to discuss. That'll grab things from Backstage here on the Zoom, as well as from YouTube, as well as from Rumble. And I can see all those comments. So let me know your thoughts on some of this stuff. Here's a new, what I created yesterday, is on the Fed being exposed. This is about the Rothschilds cartel, Jekyll Island, and the plot, including the Jekyll Island plot and the Titanic cover-up. I thought this was good because there's a Promethean analysis, basically still talking about British petroleum and basically the empirical, British bankers, and that, which really comes back down to the Rothschilds, right? Still having a huge hand in Iran. They built the whole oil infrastructure there, right, back 100 years ago. And so it's really interesting to see, is Iran just a puppet? I believe it's a puppet of this deep state. Just from a perspective, they fund Israel, they fund Iran, and which funds all the Hezbollahs and the Houthis and Hamas, and they are constantly in a fight, and then they get the perpetual forever wars, as we talk about, and that is part of what's happening here. So part of this understanding the Fed is an important part of what Trump's who our enemies really are. It's not just China and Russia. It's not just Iran. Our enemies are these globalists, right? The extreme Muslims as well as the communists. And we've got to understand that they all kind of go back up to these people that are Luciferians that worship. It's a spiritual war that are doing Satan's bidding. And so part of that is the whole banking cartel and understanding what our Fed is and how we need to expose the Federal Reserve, which is not federal and is not a reserve, right? And understand that it's part of this Rothschild cartel. It's part of the Jekyll Island plot that they pulled back. Anybody who's the Creatures of Jekyll Island book have read that, you understand that. And really the whole that they killed with the Titanic, J.B. Morgan got off before it departed, and all the people that were against the Federal Reserve perished. Isn't that just interesting? That they didn't get on the boats. They all perished, right? That's why I did this Fed exposed article showing the Jekyll Island and them planning all this up and the Titanic coming down, and they got their Federal Reserve in 1913. So some of that is really important to understand. This is written in an answer engine optimization way, so you can ask questions. So again, this has links to the Faith and Freedom TV Live and to download the apps for your TV and your mobile. So if you haven't got, if you will have a Roku or a Fire TV, make sure you get Faith and Freedom TV on there. If you have a mobile phone, almost everybody does, make sure you download that app. It works extremely well. You'll love it. And we're bringing so many more providers on. It's exciting. So the Federal Reserve is not some honest government group trying to keep the economy safe for regular people. It's a private banking club built on the purpose of powerful international money men. So let's weave this into the war going on right now about how the puppeting of Iran. Remember, Iran is a big part of our election fraud as well, because they use transfer payments so that China and Serbia, as well as Venezuela, and doing all the election fraud, could pay for different types of things, and it wouldn't go through the SWIFT system and couldn't be ever frozen. So they would pay this much for oil and overpay. Another person would underpay for it, and that difference is what was called a transfer payment. So Iran was used as in this black market of our election fraud and many other things. That is important, okay? Their real goals are to take complete control over how money is created to cause booms and busts in the economy on purpose so they can get richer, and they're trapped entire countries in endless debt using fake money called fiat currency, and hidden prices increase from inflation. So guys, remember, this is vital. They do this on purpose. They crashed the 1929 Great Depression was done on purpose by the elites using quantitative tightening in a lot of ways. They loosened the quantitative to make everything go great up till that time. People were investing, and then they purposely put that pain on us, and they did the same thing in 2008. There's many other examples before that in between, but 2008 is one you guys will have most likely were felt. I lost my businesses during that time, by the way. It's part of why, after me realizing what this cabal was doing, is why I personally am very involved in this, right? Q drops 135 to 138 is real interesting. They make it very clear. I'll just show that. If you just go to qag.news, people talk about the dark internet. Nope, here's the Q drops. I just put it up in 2 seconds. qag.news. There's hundreds of sites that have the Q drops, and they're not hidden in the dark web. They're just there to wake people up and get them to answer questions. And you can come here to qag.news, and you can type in these terms. I'm just going to go to the drops because I know their numbers, right, is 135 to 138. And they'll bring up the drops that I'm talking about. And what 135 talked about, it said Rothschild-owned and controlled banks, right? Afghanistan, the Bank of Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, and Argentina. So what the Q team is trying to tell you is that through hidden ways, just like this, or secret societies, that even though the central banks, you think they're kind of owned by that country, just like our Federal Reserve, it's not federal, it's not a reserve, it's on private property. It's an international banking cartel owns that. And that really comes back down to these entities that are associated with the Rothschilds, okay? And so this goes through list after list after list of every single country that has a bank that is actually influenced by the Rothschilds, that are basically controlled by the Rothschilds. Here we are in the seas, and every single country you can imagine: Ecuador, Egypt, El Salvador, Estonia, Ethiopia, European Union, the Fiji, again, Reserve Bank of Fiji, Bank of Finland, Bank of France, Bank of Central African States, goes on and on and on. But there's one thing I wanted to show you. Look at this. Iran. The Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So Q's, now there's not a lot of independent verification you can go find of this, but this is what Q did. He asked us questions. Is this true? Go research. And people are starting to find all these clandestine connections to the Rothschild, or the whole banking cartel, the international banking cartel that really runs our Federal Reserve in the United States is also running Iran's. So that is important to understand. Right, and this goes on and on and on. You go to the Central Bank of Norway, Oman, Pakistan. They have figured out a way, from a globalist perspective, to own all the central banks, like 95% of them. You can see Portugal. Here we got Qatar. Look at that, the Central Bank of Qatar. So if this list is correct, which we're starting to find out that Q was right about almost everything that he did, and it wasn't like he was predicting things. The Q team, this under 10 primary militaries, were telling you, hey, here, go research this. Go research this. What about this? What about this? Using the Socratic method to get everybody to research. And as people research, they're finding more and more that they are correct, that the Rothschilds have control, or the international banking cartel has control of nearly every central bank in every country, right? And this goes on. Thailand, the Bank of Thailand, the Bank of Tunisia, the Central Bank of Western African States, the National Reserve Bank of Tonga, Central Bank of Republic of Turkey, Bank of Uganda, Reserve Bank of New York. This just goes on and on and on. And then he ends it with this: the Fed and the IRS, right? The Fed and the IRS. The IRS, we pay all that money in there. It's basically going back to fund the Fed, right? And the money, fiat currency, they created from nothing. Fiat currency created from nothing. It is the biggest usury thing the Bible talks against, on steroids, that these guys have done. Now here's a fact. U.S. Federal Reserve is a privately owned company, seen on its very own patch of land, immune from many U.S. laws. Q. So, and that's the way they've done it in these other countries as well. Clandestine ownership right? Which is very hard to track, just like all this NGOs and shell companies all around, etc. But if this is true, I mean, Qatar, that's why they don't care who wins the wars. They just want wars. Wars create massive amount of money for them as they own with BlackRock and State Street and all those different companies. The globalists own those, and then they end up controlling and making tons of money with Raytheon and all these companies. So this is a very key understanding of why this globalist cabal that Trump's starting to take different pieces out to there be forever wars, where you got to have communism in the West. That's why they had it in Venezuela and Cuba. If that gets switched over and you take out Iran, a lot of these forever wars are going to go away, and this has got them scared to death. And if we get rid of the voting machines in the 72 countries, they can't put their puppets in. They're in big trouble. And we find out how the clandestine ownership of the central banks, and we move to new financial systems. This is the end of the cabal of globalism. This is why they are so scared. And I wanted to continue to go back to this article. This includes the U.S. Federal Reserve and the Federal Bank of New York. These drops also explain that the Rothschild family has way more than $2 trillion hidden away, far beyond the public reports show. This is another, the wealth is hidden. They are one of the three main puppet masters running things behind the scenes, along with the Saudi royal family and George Soros. Several key books support this view and show the Fed's true origins. Obviously, this classic is The Creature from Jekyll Island by Edward Griffin. You have Secrets of the Federal Reserve by Mullins. You got The Case Against the Fed by Rothbard, and even The End of the Fed by Ron Paul. Again, these books prove the Fed was created in secret, based on that Jekyll Island meeting where they did all these. They finally got exposed, but to help a group of rich people print money out of thin air, control interest rates to the benefit of their friends, and force regular taxpayers to pay the price through inflation and bailouts. That's why they say if you own silver, as an example, that's why I've been talking about silver for so much, it holds its value while our fiat currency doesn't. It's worth like 5 cents compared to what it was 50 years ago. This is the real truth Q woke people up to. The deep state uses money control to pay for the wars, run governments, and take away people's freedom, all while pretending it's just helping the economy. I don't have time to go over this long article, but it really digs into. I just want to go over the questions and answers. I might do this a little bit tomorrow to give you more meat, but here's some of the questions that this article answers. Again, you can find it on faithandfreedom.org, faithwiththenfreedom.org, right? And then you find all the programming and all the movies and events and shows that we have on faithandfreedom.tv, right? But here's one of the questions. Who are the Rothschilds and how did they get so much power over banks? It answers that, right? Here's another one. What really went down at the Jekyll Island meeting in 1910? What was that? Why do some people think the Titanic sinking was used to get rid of the people against the Federal Reserve? It answers that question, right? Another question you'll find in this article: who were the main people who built the Fed, and how did they pull it off? All right, and so you'll see that. And what did the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 actually set up? And that is where they can print that fiat money. And this gets a lot more detailed about how that is a fraudulent, that looks federal when it's really not. How is the Federal Reserve built to hide that it's a private club? Right? That's an important thing to understand. How does the Fed make fake money and make prices go up for everyone else? That's the inflation that gets them wealthy and takes from us. And also their boom and bust cycles that take wealth away periodically in a huge way. How does the Fed control ups and downs in the economy? That is a very important thing. The busts and booms in the economy that happen. How does the Fed push smaller banks out to maintain control? What are the biggest problems people have with the Fed. How does the Fed use money rules to run things? How far does the Fed power reach around the world? And how does it connect to the Rothschilds? So the whole conclusion of this thing you'll see, but we'll go through this in more detail at a later time. But the Federal Reserve is the U.S. branch of the Rothschild money empire, started in secret in Jekyll Island and protected by eliminating opponents like on the Titanic. Q drops plus books by Griffin, Mullins, Rothschild, and Paul make it clear this is a system built for elite control, not for helping people. We need to end the Fed, return to real money that can't be printed ad infinitum, and break the debt trap. The storm is coming. The truth is winning. Guys, this is how this all relates to Iran being the central bank of Iran. LinkedIn, British Petroleum built that, even though supposedly Iran cut those ties. There's supposedly tons of control, and Promethean talks quite a bit about that as well. So, and this is a 15-minute video. It's too long for me to get the bombs. In here. But they basically talk about, while everyone's talking about this being Iraq 2.0, she explains they'll never tell you 118 years of British financial over Iran. So again, this isn't just me and Q and all that. This is some recent analysis by the Promethean Action talking about how the British financial control over Iran, because they built the infrastructure and they have secret agreements all over. And again, they want, it doesn't matter if it was a Shah, it doesn't matter if it was Ayatollah. We have to break this part of it as well. And why Trump just struck the last piece of the empire's chessboard. So he's taken down these pieces here. And that's why we need to pray that he does not have too much pride and he's doing it God's way and not his way. Because as soon as the favor of God's on him right now, and everything's working awesome for him. That's my biggest point I want to make in this hour with you guys, is that we really need to do that. So again, I believe Iran is a complete puppet of the British financial system, just like almost the entire world is from a financial perspective. And that is why this battle of taking down Maduro and getting and understanding the election fraud and getting the people out of the rhinos out, as well as the useful idiots that come in on the Democratic side. This is a war of we the people versus the cabal, not right versus left, because there's a lot of people being pulled right back into this right versus left thing. Again, this is a uniparty that we're fighting. This is the British globalist empire, right? Here's Jack Tron saying, "Dear woke right morons," because this whole woke right thing, complete Jew hatred, everything's the Jews' fault, right? Yes, the Rothschilds are bad. Yes, there's huge problems with parts of the Mossad, just like there's part of our CIA. But we got to be careful of not going where these woke rights are, right? If you think Trump sold out to Israel, you're an idiot. You're a useful idiot, is what, again, Saul Alinsky and these different characters on Vladimir Putin Vladimir Lenin would talk about how they need to use the education system and the media to create these useful idiots that would come out and be the Antifas of the world and the BLMs of the world, right? Trump has the same position on Iran for 40 years. Donald Trump in 1980, and this is him being interviewed in 1980. Here we go.
When you get the respect of the other countries, then the other countries tend to do a little bit as you do, and you can create the right attitudes. The Iranian situation is a case in point. That they hold our hostages is just absolutely and totally ridiculous. That this country sits back and allows a country such as Iran to hold our hostages, to my way of thinking, is a horror. And I don't think they'd do it with other countries. I honestly don't think they'd do it with other countries.
Obviously, you're advocating that we should have gone in there with troops, etc., and brought our boys out.
I absolutely feel that, yes. I don't think there's any question, and there's no question in my mind. I think right now would be an oil-rich nation, and I believe that we should have done it, and I'm very disappointed that we didn't do it, and I don't think anybody would have held us in abeyance. I don't think anybody would have been angry with us, and we had every right to do it at the time. I think we've lost the opportunity.
Yep, so there you can see 40 years ago. So this guy saying it's your own fault that you're surprised this is happening only because you didn't do your homework or you're just pushing propaganda. But there's a whole lot of people that everybody's thinking they're smarter than Trump, right? And again, let him cook, as many people would say. Let him cook. He's doing something. Dan Bongino was saying that today. I listened to part of his show. Let the man cook, because look what they've done is amazing. 1 in 4 Americans back Trump's Iran strikes. Most say he's too quick to focus. So these are his polls. Trump doesn't care about polls too much, though, as you know. Other politicians go completely by the polls. Republicans mostly support the strikes. Democrats overwhelmingly oppose military action, right? Because they're told to by the Mockingbird media 4 a.m. talking points, right? So the direct opposite, Obama can start all these wars without Congress approval, but Trump shouldn't, right? They just the Mockingbird media is the true enemy of the people, and the reason we've done this. Now here's Charlie Cook's take a little bit about Iran. Let's listen to him.
How much do you actually know about Iran? Persia was a great power, and then Iran took a turn for the worst. Interestingly enough, there was the Shah of Iran, and then the Shah was displaced by Mossadegh. Mossadegh was democratically elected. Now, to be very fair, the United States and Britain got rid of Mossadegh, and then we reinstalled the Shah. Bad decision, which then led to the Iranian Revolution, where radical Islam took over Iran. Look at some of these pictures of what Iran used to be. It was wealthy, it was proud, it was strong. The Persians are wonderful people. Some of my closest friends are Persians, and I love the Persian people. And we should have a heart for the Persian people to try and have a better future. Regime change is very difficult to talk about. I actually don't like talking about regime change. It's very complicated, but understand that there can be brighter days ahead for the Iranian people. And just look at some of these pictures of how beautiful Iran used to be, how beautiful Tehran used to be. And it's very easy to kind of sit in your Western armchair and be like, oh, Israel's terrible. Well, you're able to enjoy free speech rights and a lot of rights here in the West that Iran used to have. And if you are serious about actually protecting human rights, you should want to make Iran Western again.
Yeah. Such a great point is that in Iran, the people don't, especially women, don't have any rights whatsoever. And in Israel, Christians, Muslims, actually part of the government. They have freedom of speech. They have all the freedoms in Israel, just like they do in the United States. Yet everything happens to be the Jews' fault, according to the woke right. So be careful. Don't go down to that. It's a poisonous trap of a psyop to basically blame everything on Israel. Just be careful. Yes, there's problems with Israel. Yes, Israel's going to be the last. We're going to be getting rid of that deep entrenched globalists there as well. But this is not a time to think you're smarter than Trump. Just relax. Let him cook. Here's I love how Scott Jennings and CNN where they're actually giving them some airtime to talk about some of these things without being interrupted for a little bit. So this is rare. Let's listen to this.
Some impact on the economy of China, because that's where they get their oil from, Iran. And what we did in Venezuela, what we did in China, and what we did in Iran has as much to do with China, I think, as anything. I also want to say, may God rest the souls of those troops. But they died in a noble cause. And as Buddy said, 47 years, Americans are dead, the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. I totally disagree with you about the threat not being imminent. I spoke to very senior administration officials yesterday. They believe that the Iranian regime was about to fire ballistic missiles, not at the United States, but into U.S. military bases and civilian targets. They were going to attack Israel. They are already attacking other Gulf states.
You can't make the case back then. Apparatus has assessed that there was not an imminent threat.
I know. My guess is I've spoken to higher-ranking officials than you. On the uranium enrichment, the United States offered them free, unlimited, lifetime, civilian-grade nuclear fuel. They said no. They had given us the runaround about their intentions on enriching uranium for military purposes. How long do you want to wait? Death to America? Death to Israel? How long do you want to wait? We waited 47 years. We have crossed every red line. Every president says they want to do something about it. Only Donald Trump had the guts to do it. You said
And this is a very good point that he's making there, guys, is that if you just look at, for just like Charlie Kirk said, and others about 47 years ago, they had our hostages, and we didn't really do anything about it. And it doesn't matter if it was a Republican or it was a Democrat. Why? Because they're all globalist puppets. They're all globalist puppets. The Bushes were. You had the Carter. You had and et cetera, et cetera. Even if Romney got in there, it would have been a globalist puppet anyway. And nothing would have gotten done to really solve this problem because they wanted to have this conflict for their forever wars, right? Trump is now really threatening that. That's why his life is really at risk. We need to be praying for his humbleness, praying for his God to basically just cover him completely. But he is now solving problems that we've had for decades and decades in a matter of months, right? Mexican cartel starting to be dealt with. We're seeing that with Venezuela. We're seeing that with so many with the way he is handling Israel. Again, guys, it's Bibi, I believe, and again, there's a lot of people that disagree with this, but just there are people in Israel fighting their deep state, just like there are in the United States fighting our deep state. Just like there's people in Australia fighting the deep state there. There's people in Europe fighting their deep state, right? So it's not as black and white as all these people are bad. The entire government's bad, right? Be careful of that. And so just like there's good people in Iran fighting their deep state puppet of the extreme Islamic regime there, the mullahs. So he continues here. He's talking.
You're not shedding any tears for the regime, but you appear just not to like Donald Trump enough to be mad about it. This is a good thing for the world.
He's the guy who's going to bring peace and not start wars.
Yeah, and he is bringing peace. Iran has been at war with us for 47 years. The central pillar of the regime is death to America. The other pillar is death to Israel, who is our ally. They have been at war with us. They have been killing American personnel and American soldiers for nearly 5 decades. This is not an attempt to start a war. This is an attempt to prevent further conflict. This is an attempt to get the largest state sponsor of terror off the field. This is an attempt to stabilize the Middle East. I don't view this, Ashley, as starting a war as much as ending the people who are the preeminent terror threat in the world. They're at war with everybody. They're at war with us, and they're at war with Western civilization.
This is a serious question, because we have seen regimes fall and countries not be stabilized. And so what's next?
Well, gosh, I don't know. I mean, what if we leave a country that for the next 47 years kills Americans, kills American personnel, funds terror around the world? That's what we have now. That's what we couldn't have it any worse now. What comes next?
We couldn't.
We actually don't know.
No, we don't know, actually.
That the Iranian people rise up and take control of their country.
We don't know.
Absolutely. It is up to the Iranian people to make that decision.
Yeah, so isn't that Scott? That's on CNN. How often have you ever watched a CNN segment where it's not hatred of Trump the entire time, right? And CNN, this looks like Larry Ellison is actually going to be taking control of them through the Paramount acquisition. Just like if you guys do research right now, if you go see the amount of negative news on CBS, who got overtaken by Ellison through another acquisition, you'll see CBS has moved to the center. They're doing as much positive stuff from Trump as they are doing negative, right? Not as much as Fox News, but they have moved completely off the 90% Trump hatred based upon Larry Ellison. Now, a lot of the woke right saying, oh, well, he's a Jew, so now that's all bad too. Give me a break, guys. Having Mockingbird media saying 90% bad things about Trump is the enemy of the people. The more we can get rid of that. And CNN people are freaking out because by the end of the year, that could be like an Elon Musk Twitter thing. Larry Ellison taking over the CBS, and now you see him potentially taking over CNN. That is beautiful, positive things that we should not be using the Jew hatred so much that you can't see what God's doing here, right? There's prophecies about these left-wing Mockingbird media being taken out. It's what I've changed my whole career toward. Making far less money, by the way, doing this. So, Lebanon bans Hezbollah, demands Iranian terror proxy surrender to the military. So finally, Lebanon saying, oh my goodness, you're really coming to destroy Hezbollah in a big way. They're doing ground invasion as well. So Israel ground invasions coming to Lebanon, and this is going to be another huge destruction of the axis of evil that Iran created with the Houthis and Hamas, as well as the Hezbollah. You take Hezbollah out of Lebanon, and again, Lebanon's been completely hijacked, just like Iranians have been, by again, Iranian money coming in with the extremists. So this could free Lebanon, and Lebanon finally they needed help. This is the excuse, I believe, that is going to be used to free Lebanon. You could have the freeing of Lebanon and the freeing of Iran here in the next month, because they've been planning this for months. Not just Iran, but also what's happening in Lebanon, which is basically a complete proxy. It for pretty much is Iran's biggest terrorist army. The FBI is now on red alert. Iran strike sparks U.S. sleeper cell fears, and again. This is something that we just have to keep your head on a swivel. We're at war, and if people know that you are pro-American, pro-Trump, you just like Trump's a target, you can be a target as well. So be careful out there, right? And now Dan Bongino talked about this as well as with Cash. They've been planning on this and preparing for this with the information war of actually finding these sleeper cells in advance, and they got rid of a ton of them. Taking them down to El Salvador, etc., right? So we're in a much better spot than we would have been. But again, this is where your authority in Christ and prayer for Trump and prayer for against these sleeper cells is a very important thing as we continue here. Here's and this is CBS, guys. Here's a reporter that was man enough to basically go against his bosses to actually show Iranians actually celebrating the actual war, right? So Austin CBS reporter refused to follow orders right before he went on air to ignore massive support for Trump and Israel eliminating Khomeini. And you'll see he'll say, they don't want me to focus on this. All right, well, I am, because he's already there. It's happening. He wants to tell the truth as a true journalist, but his bosses don't want him to. But it shows you this is a change at CBS, because most of the reporters back before this would have not covered this. But so here he gets a message. He's about ready to just do a video of all these people cheering that Khomeini's dead. Iranian flags, American flags. They don't want me to cover this. He says, well, I am. And then he continues to cover this here. So kudos to CBS starting to move away from the complete Trump derangement syndrome as this reporter starts reporting on this. So that is again, if you want positive news, guys, that's part of what I like to do in this show, is to make sure that you understand what God's doing, what the favor of God's doing on Trump, what the favor of God's doing on the news media, where we're starting to now see one of the major, CBS starting to move, and potentially CNN now. Those are huge events, especially for me who wants to basically fight the elite media. And we're doing that now, not just with this show, with 30 shows now on Faith and Freedom TV. So make sure you're supporting that, because we need your help to get the word out about faithandfreedom.tv. All right, here's Ban the Machines. This is some other news, getting into some of this thing. This shows a bunch of information. I don't have time to, you'll see this in the show notes as well. But the whole point being is that Tina Peters caught him. This is why the Dems don't want to get rid of the machines and pass the Save America Act. This is why they don't want to turn over the voter data. So again, they purposely have phantom / dead people / illegals on the voter rolls, because that's the machines have to assign the votes to those voter rolls. So the voter rolls and the machines work together. It's very important to understand that. Here's Colorado uses a nonprofit named ERIC, Electronic Registration Information Center, to validate its voter rolls. So do 25 other states. All of these same 25 states are the ones refusing to provide voter rolls to the DOJ. So Trump put an executive order in. They rebelled against it. That's why Trump is going to have to do a national emergency. Just wait. He's going to be a national emergency. 9 states left Eric, and the immediate surprise flipped to red in their elections. So once they got rid of Eric, so this, again, Eric is part of the voter roll fraudulent inflation. They inflate it to be able to give fake votes to their candidates. And again, it's not just left versus right. This is also rhinos. All kinds of rhinos are going to win our primaries. Why we're still with the, I believe Abbott as an example is a rhino, and Doc Chambers should be elected. I'm going to be voting for him tomorrow. But the chances of that happening with the elite money, the Republican money, right? The establishment they call it, and the amount of voting machine fraud, I don't think that there's much of a chance. It has to be a miracle by the Lord to win elections, because these selection machines select them for us. And you probably know that all the, is it 4.5 hours or so of information about the actual depositions of Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. You can go watch that now. I'll have that in the show notes as well. Here's a little clip about her talking about Pizzagate.
Was totally made up. It was the Epstein release files about Pizzagate.
Correct.
Pizzagate was totally made up. It was an outrageous allegation that...
I love it how she has the 4am talking point about how she rechanges. Pizzagate is really about how pedophiles use food terms to actually point in a clandestine way to little boys or little girls, or events that you do in a gross way to our children from a sexual perspective. That's what Pizzagate's about. It's about pedophiles and their secret language. They tried to make it about one pizza zone, about one crazy guy with a gun, to cover it all up. And this is what she tries to do.
Ended up hurting a number of people. That caused a deranged young man to show up with his assault rifle and shoot up a local pizzeria. I can't believe you're even referencing it. You should be...
There are connections to the...
This goes on for quite a while, but it's just funny that she'll also talk about QAnon here in a second.
The language.
Well, the QAnon people believe there are. So
I don't know what QAnon people believe.
Have at it.
Right. So they've effectively taken the not Q and what the posts are, but QAnon, and they put thousands of articles out there trying to say it's part of the dark web, which it's not. Lying about what it says, and taking extreme people that we're talking about and saying, hey, this person believes in vampires, this person believes JFK Jr. is alive, and which basically was never said by Q, right? And so this is interesting that you'll see some of that within the Hillary's deposition, if you're interested in going digging into more detail into that. U.S. Treasury targets cartel Jalisco connected timeshare resorts in Mexico. So that same, where they took out El Mencho, that same cartel owns these fraudulent timeshares as well. So they're going after them financially as well. So Trump's being extremely smart. The Trump administration's being extremely smart about how we take down the various cartels. Again, this is the link you'll have to the 4.5-hour deposition videos of the links below with both Bill
and the court reporter. Please
Hillary.
swear on the witness.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this deposition will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Yep. So that'll be. I'm sure people will be analyzing that, and I believe they'll get caught for perjury. It's just one of the small things, but that is nothing compared to the crimes against humanity that they did with the Clinton Foundation in Haiti. I think that's all going to be coming out, as well as what Bill did on his 17 trips to the island, not to mention the 27, what he did on the plane with his 27 trips on the Lolita Express, right? Pretty sickening is what that ends up being. All right, guys, we're going to now move to the praise and prayer, which we do each Monday and Thursday. We also teach on Wednesdays and Sundays, so I think you'll enjoy that. But this is what we do, again, praise and prayer, where we're going to listen to the beautiful music as well as hear praise reports. I got lots of praise reports, guys. Based on the last 2 weeks, I had to be out on my travel for conferences and in my travel, an emergency travel down to Mexico for my dad, who almost passed away, 83 years old, and almost lost him, but had some miracles happen there. Miracles with my ear. Just so many things. You get to hear praise reports from Backstagers, and we'll love to have you join us. So we're going to be moving over to the Word and Worship channel on Faith and Freedom TV, as well as Rumble. So those are the only places we'll be live here shortly. So make sure that you join us here next in the next 5 minutes. Those of you on Rumble can just stay put. I'll move you over there with the new raid function, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes over at the Word and Worship channel. It's Word with the N Worship, or look at Growing Your Faith is another way you can find it on the Rumble channel. Or just go to Faith and Freedom TV and look at the live channels. God bless you all. And with that, we'll see you shortly. Bye-bye.
Christian soldiers, we are in this together. We are blessed to teach. We are neighbors, we believe. We are blessed to be free, to love our God and country.
Elitist media deceives, but Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and access on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS, we're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission to counter deception. Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.